Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Veteran Nation here on NRN Plus, and we've got a really great guest here with us today. I do, before we get started, want you all to remember that you can go onto our landing page at www.nrnplus.com/VN. If you subscribe, it's going to be $9.95 a month, or you can pay $79.95 for the whole year. You'll get access to this show. You'll get access to all the other content that NRN provides, and we'll do some special videos and stuff that are only available there. Likewise, you can follow the network at New Right Network on all platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. So if you would like to see conservative and independent journalism, please feel welcome to follow along with us there. And today's guest is a fellow Marine veteran. She has been with the Department of Homeland Security, and she also currently hosts a show on OANN right now. Christina Bobb, did I say your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And welcome to the show. And, we're all about veterans here, and you're a veteran. I think you have a really unique experience, and we'd like to hear a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on the show. It's such an honor to be with you guys today. So I'm an attorney, and I started my legal career in the Marine Corps. I was a judge advocate based in Quantico, and as of course I'm sure most of your viewers know, Marines are very proud of our training and our background, and the fact that Marines are very versatile. So I went through, all the Marine Corps training, and then I spent some time in Helmand province. I know you and I almost crossed paths. We were just a month shy of crossing paths in Helmand. So I was out there. I did operational law there for, an 8-month deployment or whatever it was. And then I came back to Quantico and was a defense counsel for a while and did that. I got out of the Marine Corps. I only planned on doing one tour. I got out and did civil litigation for a while in San Diego. I love being a lawyer. I love litigation, and realized that I missed the national security side of litigation because it's, what the military does is pretty special, and we all have had pretty cool, unique experiences. And I think I had taken some of that for granted. So I mobilized as a reservist. I mobilized to Stuttgart, Germany, where I went and worked as an OPSO for Marine Forces Europe and Africa for a while. It was about a year and somewhere between a year and a half. And then moved back to Washington, D.C. and got roped in with the Trump administration and was at the Department of Homeland Security, as you mentioned. I was the executive secretary there for a while. And then for a little while, I was the executive director of policy at Customs and Border Protection. So little bit of a patchwork career, but yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, that's excellent. Did you find that your military career really prepared you for working in other sectors of government?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of us probably can relate to that. But I think the military training is really good for versatility, not just the actual legal skills that I developed in the Marine Corps, the getting thrown into trials and doing my own trials and having to put together cases and all of that. You get to do that right away as a young attorney in the Marine Corps, but also just having to be versatile. One day you're working on a trial, the next day you find out you're getting deployed, and you have to switch focus and all that. So I think just being able to be flexible, adaptable, and kind of willing to go with whatever's happening, I think is a really, I don't want to call it a skill. I was gonna say really good skill. It's not really a skill. It's just you get used to it and you just develop a tolerance that I think a lot of people might not have. So absolutely, the Marine Corps trained me in ways that you can't really train for in real life, So it was I'm very grateful for my time in the Marine Corps.
I always tell people it gets you very comfortable at being uncomfortable, and no place is going to make you more uncomfortable than the Marine Corps.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because now I joke all the time. Like, if I'm like, the Marine Corps made me so uncomfortable, I refuse to be uncomfortable anymore. Like, if the room is just a little bit too hot or a little bit too cold, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I need a blanket or something. Like, it's kind of a joke, but not really. I'm like, I don't want to be uncomfortable anymore. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. You do. You get very good at being uncomfortable.
Well, I live out here in 29 Palms, so I'm still used to being uncomfortable. Most of the summer, there's no comfort here. So
yeah, it's pretty hot.
Now with your current show, how does that, relate to your experience? Do you find that you were prepared that way? Do you find it's obviously very different from government work? Do you think there's any similarities or any type of things that you had to get used to?
Yeah, absolutely. Because well, the private sector is very different from the government for a number of different reasons, good and bad. Private sector is just different. But the thing that has been, I think, is extremely helpful, and having worked for the government for as long as I did, I'm reporting on the government now, right? Like, most of my stories are, what is the government doing? And so I have a familiarity and an understanding of what's happening that I think makes it easier for me to tell the story and explain what I'm interpreting. My show is an opinion show, and so I do discuss my own interpretation of what I think is happening. And I hope my viewers understand. I think the viewers understand, my background plays into that. And so I'm seeing it the way a Marine would see it, the way someone who's been a civil litigator or, a political appointee. So all of those experiences are really helpful in helping me not just, I don't want to say determine, but interpret the facts of what I'm reporting on. And I think it makes my reporting unique. I've got a unique perspective than someone who's been a career journalist telling the story, or, a career talk show host telling the story. And I don't know, I hope that my background and my experience adds some flavor and adds some unique things to it. So yeah, I think it's good.
Now, obviously, having been in the military as a female yourself, especially in the Marine Corps, which is a very macho culture, I would imagine that you had a very different experience than what I had. Do you think there was anything notable about that? And do you think that has prepared you well, or maybe not as well?
Yeah, I think, every female Marine has a different experience, and we all, to some extent, nobody gets a free pass. Female Marines have probably a visible struggle that people can look at and go, oh, that would be hard. And it was hard for all of the reasons that people think, but I also am really proud of it, and so I'm proud of my service in a way that, like, you can't, not that you can't be proud of your service, but you just didn't have the same struggle that I had. And so I just want to be honoring to it, because it was hard, and I appreciate that people see that and appreciate that. But at the same time, I also feel like I got something for that, the sense of pride and all that. So, so there's that. It's not all sacrifice, right? You get a lot out of the service. Mm-hmm. So that certainly shaped the way I see the world and the way I operate. I would like to think it made me tougher, or revealed the strength, my inner strength, in a way that hadn't been revealed before. I kind of joke about this with folks, but people say, oh, the Marine Corps, made you so tough. They made you so tough, or whatever, you probably experienced it in your service as well. But that's probably true a little bit, but I really think that it really just reveals what's already in you, because at least for the Marine Corps, I haven't served in any of the other branches, but at least in the Marine Corps, I can tell you, if you're not already tough, at least to some level, as an officer, you're never going to make it through the training. Like, you're just not going to make it one way or another. And maybe on the enlisted side, maybe you don't make it through your first enlistment or whatever it is. So I do think the Marine Corps made me tougher in a lot of ways, but I think it really just pulled out what was already inside and kind of shaped it a little bit. And I have learned in the private sector that I'm tough, and not everybody handles pressure the same way. And so I need to be patient with people that don't like pressure, So it's, learning to relate to people differently, because the Marine Corps, everyone is okay with, you just realize you're going to drown in it.
When I left active duty, I went into a little bit of the construction field for a while. And, I just didn't realize that we kind of put in the military our feelings aside about a lot of things, and dealing with people's feelings was a real eye-opener to me, because I thought I was, I got called one day and was like, why did you yell at this person? I was like, I didn't yell. I just said this here. And they were like, wow, well, they've never had someone be that direct with them. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm starting to understand now. So
it's the same type of thing. You're like, oh, I didn't realize that saying do your job is difficult for people. It's like, that's like a fact. Like, okay.
Almost word for word what I said. I said, what is it going to take for me to get you to do your job? And that was me yelling at somebody.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Now, we deal with a lot of veteran issues on this show. We're not afraid to deal with, things that are in the news. Obviously, you have a unique perspective, and with females in the military, now they are eligible for infantry positions and, a lot more combat roles. What's your opinions on that? Do you see that as, how do you see that going forward in the future?
I think it's great. I understand, the culture of the military might need to adjust and get used to it, but adjust and get used to it. I don't think anybody should be disqualified for anything based on gender or race or any other reason other than merit. Decades ago, a generation ago, they said the same thing about females becoming lawyers or females becoming doctors, and it was going to distract the doctors from what they were doing, and they weren't going to be able to treat sick people because there would be a female doctor there. Like, those were actually arguments that were used to keep women out of medical school and out of law school. And obviously this generation would look at that and go, well, that's silly. No one actually thinks that way. But at the time, that's really how they felt. And so I think absolutely the standards need to be what the standards need to be. You can't lower the standards. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
You can't lower the standards just for the sole purpose of having women in those positions. That's not right either. They need to uphold the standards. And there are probably very few women that can meet the physical requirements for some of these positions, but the women that can, if that's what they want to do, go for it. So I think it's great. And I think it's empowering. And I imagine that this generation that's transitioning might have a hard time, and there might be some stonewalling or, some really strong opinions. It's okay. We'll deal with it and, let them work through it. And there will probably be some hiccups, and we might do something and realize, oh, that's actually not a great way to do. We'll have to make adjustments along the way, but we need to keep progressing forward. So yeah, I think it's great.
I've almost been a little bit frustrated because, as you're aware, the Marine Corps this year got rid of tanks. We have no more tanks anywhere in the Marine Corps. And I remember I wasn't in the tank community, but I was with Amtracs, which is a similar community. They're both track vehicles. They're both cramped as can be. And I remember having Marines who were 6 foot tall, constantly banging their heads on the top. I was like, this is one combat MOS that women should be in, because they'll fit much more into these tracks, way better than these men would. But we just got rid of tanks. So what can you do?
That's another way to do it. Yeah.
Now, I think you're absolutely onto something, because I used to tell, all the Marines that fell underneath me that you will rise or fall to the standards that I set. And, I'm going to hold you to the standard. So I think you're definitely onto something there, because the Marines I talk to, their frustration with the new policies are not so much that the policy is there. It's one, that they're not getting the guidance of how do we implement this, and two, what is the standard going to be? And that seems to be the real questions that I'm seeing out there. Have you talked to anybody? Have you heard anything?
I haven't spent a lot of time on that, talking with other folks, but I can completely relate to the frustrations that you were talking about, and it doesn't surprise me at all that that's the feedback that you're getting. My whole career, particularly talking about the female issue, in combat MOSs. When I went to Afghanistan, actually, when we almost crossed paths, I wanted to go to be a battalion judge advocate, because of course, everyone wants to be closer to the fight, right? And so there was a battalion billet open, and I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. But at the time, I wasn't allowed to go because I was female. I couldn't be below the division level. That I'm pretty sure that has since changed. Mm-hmm. But it made no sense to me. Why, as the judge advocate, like, I'm a judge advocate, I'm like, why can't I be your lawyer? It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so, the whole time I heard people my own age, people, it wasn't even necessarily a generational issue, but people tend to, sorry, I'm getting back to the point you're making, I promise. But
no, you're fine.
People tend to just take the policy or the guidance, if there is some, and accept it, because that's what we do, right? We follow orders, and we fall in line, and we're good Marines, and we do that, and don't necessarily think through it, which I don't know that I'm encouraging that, because you don't necessarily want that in the military. You just want people to blindly follow orders. But the reason why I say that is because, one, the guidance is important. We need to tell the troops how we want them to interpret this new policy and what they should think about it. At the same time, it also is kind of common sense, I think. And I think if people take a couple seconds to think about it, I think most people will probably figure it out. But, that's what we do. Someone's got to write an SOP, and, someone's got to write guidance, and there's going to be thousands of pages on this that probably nobody will ever read, but someone's going to write it.
And there's always going to be orders out there that none of us are going to, this one I don't like, and it's going to be hard, but you still got to follow it, and you just got to suck it up and just, do the job.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, one thing that we have touched on a lot on our show with other guests, I don't know if you've experienced this, but transitioning out of the military is a very big issue. It's linked to so many issues that we have with veteran homelessness, with the suicides, the 22 a day that we're currently losing. How was your transition? Was there anything that helped you? Any advice you'd give to other veterans? Just anything on that topic?
Yeah. So I think transitioning out is actually really difficult, because I think, when you're in the military, your career is basically scheduled. Like, every 4 years you're going to be doing this, or every 3 years, and what your options, you're going to have these 4 options. In eight years from now, I'm going to have these 3 options, and I'm going to be like, everything is very mapped out for you. And transitioning out, you don't know that. And so it can be really scary. And so I think I think I fell into the category of, I knew I only wanted to do one tour. I wanted to get out. I wanted to stay a lawyer. I wanted to keep practicing, but I didn't really know what else I could do or should do. And the Marine Corps is great. They provide a lot of services, and they provide counseling, and there's all these resources. But what I didn't know then, that looking back, I go, nobody told me that, was you really just need to think about yourself and where do you fit? And that's really scary, because you feel this time crunch. You feel like, I'm going to be out in, 90 days or whatever it is. And so you feel a lot of pressure to have a job or find a job. And so I think we don't take the time to be reflective of what was I made to do? And I do believe that. I believe everybody has a purpose. I think everyone fits in a specific place, whether it's at for 30 years or whether it's for 2 years, or, and then you move on. Like, I tend to move around a lot. I don't, I didn't stay at one firm for 30 years, but, you got to kind of figure that out. And it's hard and it's scary, but go through the mental exercise of doing it. And you learn by trial and error. At least I learned by trial and error. I learned what I liked. I learned what I was good at. I definitely learned what I was not good at. And it's okay to make adjustments. You don't have to get it right. I guess, sorry, I'm getting to the point. I think it would be good for people to know you don't have to get it right the first time out of the military. Like, if you're done and you want to get out, but you don't really know exactly what you're going to do, just get a job and go work for a little bit. And then it's okay to move and do something else. Like, you don't have to have everything planned out, just because if you had stayed in the military, you would have had everything planned out. Just go figure out life. Like, just go do it.
Were there any resources you found particularly helpful?
I didn't really use any of the resources. I was an officer. I was an attorney. I knew I either wanted to, at the time I thought that I really wanted to be at a firm. So I was really only looking at firms. I didn't need to figure out, do I want to be an artist, a musician, or do I want to be a neuroscientist? Like, I didn't have the broad spectrum problem that I think some of the younger enlisted Marines have. But, no, so I just found a firm and got out.
Would it be fair to say you would not have seen yourself doing what you're doing now back then?
Yes, I didn't see myself doing this 10 months ago. Like, I didn't know I was going to be, this was a complete surprise to me. So yeah, and I like living that way. I know a lot of people like the consistency, and they like feeling like, okay, I've got a job, it's secure. They want the security of knowing what they're going to be doing for the next 20 years. And I've never really been that way, and I can't really hold a job down. So say that joking, I've never been fired, but I tend to move around a lot just because I like the variety, and I like, I'm intrigued by new things, and, I want to keep doing stuff. So.
I can absolutely relate to that. Like I said, I got out. I didn't use any resources. I just went and was like, okay, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next. And yeah, for a little bit, bounced around job to job, and then I became a contractor. And every 6 months, new contract. So I enjoyed doing something different, going somewhere new. So I think we're similar in that way. There's a lot of people out there who aren't. I would highly encourage everyone, before you get out, think about those things. Think about what passions speak to you, and start to follow those.
Yeah. And if you don't know, that's a really good point. If you don't know what it is, if you're like, I know I'm passionate, but I'm not sure about what, just go try something. Like,
yeah.
No, like I said, you don't have to get it right the first time. Just go try and see what you like, and be okay with a little bit of flexibility. And maybe you'll find something that you love and do it for 30 years, or maybe you'll switch around for a little bit, and then every path is different, but don't be afraid to, figure it out.
Now, with your show, you're on One America News Network. This is a fairly new thing for you. What type of things do you want to accomplish, and how are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I love it right now. It's a lot of fun. And, like I said, I kind of fell into it on accident. I wasn't necessarily like seeking out television, and the idea came up and it worked out, and it's been a lot of fun. But so I'm enjoying that. What I'm trying to get out of it, I am trying to be a voice for truth, and for a conservative voice. I know others would say you're not a lot. I do know a lot of people say I'm not a voice for truth. So, both sides are okay, and that's fine. I respect that, but I am conservative, and I speak a conservative voice. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people understand what's going on in the world, and help them interpret the facts, because there's so much noise. There's so many voices, and there's so many opinions that, I hope that I'm a place where people feel like they trust my opinion, or they trust my analysis because of my background. And, I'm one of many. There's many journalists, there's many reporters, there's many talk show hosts out there. Mm-hmm. But I hope that I have a special flavor that speaks to people, and they like it, and it helps them interpret the world around them. Now,
you've served in the Trump administration. You served with a lot of people who were firebrands, I guess you could say. Yeah. Did you find that experience really affects you now that you're on a different side of it?
Well, right now, at the moment, and in this exact moment, it's really helpful because I was part of the Trump administration. And so I know the people personally, so I know a lot of the key players that we're seeing personally. And that is extremely helpful when you're reporting on someone, to know them. Depending on what happens over the next 30 days, it probably won't make a difference at all. If Joe Biden were to go into office, then all of those connections and all of that experience really isn't going to matter, because it's going to get completely replaced with other people. So it's not going to do anything for me. And then, of course, if Trump stays in office, it will still be extremely helpful for me. So yeah, a lot depends on the next 30 days.
And I do want to talk about one issue that just came up yesterday. The Biden administration, they've been doing transitioning, and the Pentagon said that they were no longer going to do transition meetings for over the holidays. A lot of people are saying, oh, that's a signal of something. Some people are saying it's not. I've been noting it's at least unprecedented, because we've done several presidential turnovers, with the current military. We kind of know how these things go. Did you take anything from that? Do you have any insight on that issue?
Yeah, I don't take a whole lot from it. I don't know, and I'll trust your research or your analysis on that. I don't know if it's unprecedented. I know we've had other elections contested, and so I just haven't looked into, who was or was not briefed. So I don't know about that. But I think it's smart. The Trump administration is saying, hey, we think there's foreign interference. They have information that there's foreign interference, and they want to look at it. I know the president has said, if the election were fair and, it proved, they do their analysis and they look at things, and they determine that either there wasn't fraud or there wasn't enough fraud to change the outcome of the election, I have no doubt he'll leave, and it'll be fine. And, we can pick up, and that's what he should do, to be clear. That's what he should do. But I do know from my own research and some of the work that I've done, there are indicators that there's foreign interference as well as domestic interference. So to hit pause for a while, it's not going to be detrimental. In my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to be extremely detrimental to any Biden-Harris administration to delay the briefings for a little while. I know people who want it to be a Biden-Harris administration feel very strongly like, oh, he has to have these briefings, and it gets very emotional. And I can appreciate that and understand why they feel that way. I don't think it's going to be detrimental. And I think the risk on the other side, if we actually do realize that there was foreign interference and, God forbid, foreign cooperation between the other administration, then it's appropriate to hit pause. So that's my interpretation of it. Everybody who cares about politics or follows it probably has a different one, and I'm sure I'll hear about it on Twitter. But that's the way I interpret it.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Twitter is just that place where it's like, okay, just bring it on.
Yeah. And I try, I've got like security settings on, and I have very sensitive settings on because I just don't want the troll. I just don't want to hear what they have to say. I don't mind them as much, but like, I don't like getting 1,000 messages of people who want to tell me they hate me. So I try to avoid it. But I also want to like answer the people who are kind and are like, oh, I really like your reporting. And I want to respond to them. So whether it's a DM or a comment, I try to respond to people who are, just being supportive. And every once in a while, it's really funny because I try to I know it's not a scientific way of doing it, but I'll try to look at the profiles or, as I'm scrolling through, try to see someone that I think might say something nice. And I'm like, oh, that person looks like they're probably going to not at least be cussing me out or sending me porn. So I'll open it and, it's so funny because I'll have little old ladies and I'll be like, oh, she's probably, being nice. And I'll open it and they're so mean. I did not see that one coming. So it's funny. You can't tell, who knows, but.
Since doing this show, Twitter, I love Twitter. I love everything about Twitter. I love that people can, comment directly at me. I love that I can comment directly at them. Yeah. But yeah, every little insecurity you have, people are going to find it when you're doing a show like this or like yours. They're going to find it, and they're just they just don't even know. It's like, ooh, that one hurts to the bone, and I know it's true. And then there are those ones like, what show is this guy watching?
It's so funny. Yeah, no, that's really true. It's really true. It's funny. Okay. Most people are really nice, and I totally support everybody sharing different views, and I think it's really important. I fully support the liberal viewpoint and their right to speak about it. But I obviously have my own opinion and share it.
I
get to listen to it.
What I love the most are the anonymous comments. I know some people, they're like, no, I don't listen to anonymous people. I do, because I take it as that's where I'm going to get the most truth. So when it's an anonymous poster, I'm like, it's going to be brutal. And the Marine Corps definitely prepared me for the brutal, honest truth. But that's, I actually kind of, I'm thankful that there are those people out there who are going to just,
you are a good
just
soul.
Tell me the worst things about myself.
Yeah. I'm happy that you feel that way.
Not many do, but
No, I don't share it, but that's great. It's a great outlet.
Blessings.
So yeah, you're a better person than I am.
I do want to ask you, because you were in the Trump administration. Let's assume that Trump, everything plays out to where he is reelected.
Okay.
And for the next 4 years, how do you see these last 4 years of how Trump has gone with the military and with veterans? And what do you see the future if Trump continues on?
Specifically about the military?
About the military, about the Veterans Affairs, anything that would relate to.
He absolutely absolutely loves veterans. I actually kind of think that he really wishes he'd been a veteran, but he never did it. Mm-hmm. And I've met most of the Trumps, and they're extremely, extremely supportive of veterans. And if and when they know that I'm a Marine veteran, they always thank me, and they're extremely gracious and kind. And so I don't see anything but really good things for the Department of Defense and veterans, whether it's the VA or whatever it is. I think that they will continue to what I believe, they've been extremely supportive of the military if others, I don't know. I don't really know how you can disagree with that, but I know a lot of people do. And that I respect that, and that's fine. But I think you can expect him to continue to be very supportive of veterans.
I know, with my service, I started in the Bush administration, went through all the Obama years, and then had a little bit of the Trump years. And I'll tell you, for me as a military veteran, it's when there was someone in power that I didn't agree with necessarily, that I think I was more proud of my service then, because I knew I took an oath to the Constitution and I was going to follow every single order, even if I didn't agree with it. And I think I think you would probably be able to relate some way with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't ever remember a time. I can't ever remember a time where I worked for someone that I didn't. I can remember times I worked for people I didn't like, but I can't ever remember a time I worked for someone where I thought I would not listen to them or like that. I cannot remember a time where I tried to circumvent them or not follow orders or do some that was not even an option. And so you just follow orders. And one of the things that I think that's really good about is you don't, or how that could be really helpful is that you don't necessarily take your own thoughts or opinions into account. We're trained to be very mission focused, and we want to accomplish the mission and get done what we're called to get done. And I think that's really helpful in any aspect outside of the military. I know, I get my stories done, or whether it's getting another legal case done or whatever it is I'm very, very mission focused. And I think it's good. Others might want me to be a little bit more political, or a lot of people want me to be a lot less political. So, I don't really take that into account. In this position, my job is to tell you the news, tell you what's going on with it, and tell you my opinion about it. Because again, I'm an opinion show host, and I do that.
With the current military, is there anything you think should be changed
about the military?
Yes.
Yeah, I do, but I think it's going the right direction. We talked about the females in combat and all that. I think all of that's really important, and it's extremely frustrating, seeing well, it's not that hard. Just get there. Just get there. But there's how many ever million people in the military? It's turning a ship. It takes a while. And so I'm extremely grateful for our Department of Defense, and I love the military. And yeah, there's cultural issues and there's some opinions that I think we could improve, but I think we're going the right direction.
I like that you have that take, because as a JAG attorney, you see the worst of the military, and to be so upbeat about it, I definitely can appreciate your take then.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that we even have the order now that females can be in combat MOSs, and there's still people griping and complaining about it and trying to make sure it doesn't happen and all that, and that's fine. That's part of the process, right? Okay, let's gripe and complain about it, and then it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, we didn't know that was the case. And so every decade, every generation, we're getting better. We're improving.
Yeah. I remember 20 years ago, female fighter pilots were a brand new thing, and people were, it's going to
be terrible. We're not going to have a national defense system anymore, because God forbid, I don't want to say, I don't want to be crude on your show, but all the things that I'm sure you heard, that God forbid we wouldn't do this. So
yeah. Absolutely.
And get upset about it, and it'll be fine.
Well, I see we're getting close to our time. I don't want to take up all of your day. If you could, please plug everything that you want to, any social media, anything that you're doing. This is your time now.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So I have a weekly show on One America News. It airs Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern on One America News. It's called Weekly Briefing with Christina Bobb. It's a political show. I have political insiders, within Washington, D.C. in the area, and have them on the show. We talk about current events, and then, of course, I give my opinion about it. It is a conservative show, so if you're looking for conservative news, check out One America News Network. And you can also find us on Cloud TV if your cable provider doesn't carry One America News. And then if you would like to follow me on Twitter, it's Christina_Bobb, B-O-B-B, like the man's name with 2 B's. And that's my Twitter handle, and Instagram as well.
Well, I want to thank you again for coming on our show and talking with us today. We have lots of veterans who watch our show, so hopefully you all found this entertaining, and check out her show on One American News Network. And you can always follow me at Onside or Another on Twitter, or you can go to our landing page at www.nrnplus.com/VN. Again, that's our landing page. You can go on there. You can subscribe for $9.95 a month or $79.95 for a year. And Christina, thank you very much again. I really did appreciate you coming on here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And thank you for all of our listeners for tuning in this week. And have a very happy holidays.